The sound of the monitor was the first thing I heard, steady, mechanical, heartless. Then came the words that broke something deeper than the stitches on my chest. "You'll be fine on your own, Godsent. I've done enough." He said it like he was tired of me. I turned my head, wincing at the tug of pain in my ribs. My father stood by the door, one hand gripping his jacket, the other still holding his phone like he couldn't wait to leave. The nurse was whispering something about paperwork, but he was already gone, just the echo of his shoes down the hallway. And I remember thinking, he didn't even look back. I wanted to scream. I wanted to rip the IV from my arm and run after him, but I couldn't move. My throat was dry, my heart was heavier than my body. That's the moment I stopped being his son and started becoming something else. My name is Godsent. I'm 25, and I almost died that night. It was supposed to be routine, appendix removal gone wrong, internal bleeding, emergency surgery. I woke up expecting to see my family. Instead, I woke up alone. My mother had called once, said she was too tired to come back. My brother Mason posted pictures from a party that same night. Everyone moved on. Everyone except me, lying under the hospital's flickering lights, realizing that love in my family came with conditions. That night, I promised myself I would never need any of them again. When I got home, they acted like nothing happened. My father sat at the head of the table, reading the paper. My mother asked if I was feeling better. Mason joked that I was milking the sympathy. They laughed. I forced a smile. Inside, something froze. Every achievement I'd worked for, graduating early, helping with bills, holding the family together, meant nothing. Mason got the praise. Mason got the attention. I got responsibility and silence. And yet I kept playing my part, because in that house, love was a currency and I was broke. A month later, during Mason's 21st birthday dinner, my father stood to make a toast. "To my son," he said proudly, "the one who'll carry the family name forward." Everyone clapped. I raised my glass too. He didn't even glance at me. When Mason thanked him, he looked at me and said, "Learn from your brother, Godsent. He makes things happen." That was the first time I felt anger burn cold instead of hot. I smiled, nodded, and quietly started building my plan, not for revenge, but for freedom. I moved out 3 months later. No announcement, no goodbye, just packed my bags, left the house key on the table, and closed the door behind me. No one called, not once. But I found peace in the silence. I worked 2 jobs, finished my degree, and started climbing in a small tech firm. I built something from scratch, my own life. Every time I thought of my father, I pictured that hospital hallway, and I told myself, never again. 5 years later, my phone rang. It was my mother. Her voice was trembling. "It's your father, he's sick. Liver failure, rapid progression. The doctors said he needed a transplant or he wouldn't survive the year." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The irony was bitter and sharp. Then came the words that froze me. "They tested the family. Mason's not a match, but you are." When I visited the hospital, he wouldn't meet my eyes. His once strong frame had thinned, skin pale, eyes sunken. He looked fragile human. He cleared his throat. "I know I wasn't the best father," he said, voice low, "but you're my son, and I need you." For years, I'd waited to hear those words, but not like this. I stayed silent. He looked away first. That was when I decided I wouldn't just give him my liver, I would give him a lesson he'd never forget. I told the doctors I'd think about it. Then I told my father something different. "I'll do it," I said, "but we're doing things my way. No secrets, no lies. You'll be honest with me and everyone else." He frowned. "What do you mean?" "You'll tell them what you did," I said, "how you left me after surgery, how you made me invisible." He turned pale. "You want to humiliate me?" "No," I said softly, "I want you to remember." Weeks later, he stood in front of our extended family in the hospital's waiting lounge. My mother, Mason, uncles, aunts, all of them. "I failed my son," he said, voice shaking. Years ago, I left him in a hospital after his surgery. I didn't think it mattered. I was wrong. No one spoke. Mason looked at me like I'd just shattered the image he worshipped. My mother started crying. That's when I knew the real surgery had already begun. I wasn't cutting into my body. I was cutting into the lie that built our family. The transplant went well. They took a part of me, literally, and gave it to him. When I woke up, he was still unconscious. I watched him through the glass, his chest rising and falling with borrowed strength. I should have felt compassion. I felt nothing. Maybe numbness was my new peace. Weeks passed, he recovered. No thank you, no apology, just silence again. But I was different now. I didn't need it. Every scar reminded me I had given life to someone who once left me dying, and that was power enough. Mason called one night, drunk and angry. "You think you're some kind of hero," he slurred. "You just did it for attention." I didn't reply. I let him rant until he slipped, literally and figuratively. Turns out, he'd been using company funds from my father's business for months. By morning, the truth was out. My father's company was collapsing from within. My father called me desperate. "Godsent, I need your help. Mason's ruined everything." I almost laughed, like I ruined your peace in that hospital room. He went silent. For the first time, he realized what it felt like to need someone who could walk away. I showed up anyway, calm, dressed in a suit. "I can help stabilize the company," I said, "but it'll cost you." He looked terrified. "Money." "No," I said, "truth." He hesitated. "What do you want?" "I want you to make me CEO, publicly. You'll announce it yourself." At the press conference, cameras flashing, he read from the paper I'd written. "I'm stepping down due to health reasons. My son, Godsent, will take over effective immediately." Applause. I shook his hand. His eyes were glassy with humiliation and something else, understanding. Running the company felt strange. It wasn't victory, it was closure. I didn't sabotage him or gloat. I made the business better. I hired fairly. I treated people the way I wished he'd treated me. And in doing so, I rebuilt the family legacy on my terms. Mason showed up at my office one afternoon, eyes red. "I lost everything," he whispered. "Can you talk to Dad for me?" I looked at him for a long moment. Did he talk to me when I needed him? He had no answer. My father called again weeks later. "I made mistakes," he said, "but I'm proud of you." I smiled bitterly. "You're proud of what you tried to destroy." "Please," he whispered, "can we start over?" "No," I said softly, "we already ended." A few days later, I received a letter in his handwriting, no return address, just one line. "You taught me what love really costs." It was the first honest thing he'd ever said to me. Months later, he suffered another medical emergency, his body rejecting the transplant. He was admitted again. This time, I didn't visit. I sent flowers, white lilies, the kind they give for peace, not pity. When the call came, I felt nothing, just calm. At the funeral, people whispered how devoted I'd been for donating. They didn't know the truth, that my forgiveness wasn't for him, it was for me. The lawyer read the will. My father left everything to me. Mason stormed out. My mother sobbed. All I did was nod, because I didn't need his money. I already had something more valuable, peace. I sold the company, donated part of it to medical charities, and started a foundation for children abandoned in hospitals. Every time I visited one, I saw my younger self in their faces, waiting for someone to come back. I became that someone. One evening, I walked back to the same hospital where it all began. The hallway smelled the same. The light buzzed faintly overhead. I stood by the recovery ward door and whispered, "I forgive you." Not for him, to free myself. Some people think revenge is about making others hurt. But real revenge is living so well they can't touch your peace. My father left me at the hospital once. Years later, I walked out of that same place as a man who didn't need anyone to come back for him. Because the moment I forgave him, I left the pain there too. Sometimes the best revenge is healing in plain sight.